welcome to our series, Love After Narcissistic Abuse. My name is Rakia Chantel,
I am Love Ashleie Elaine.
and we have collaborated to bring you guys a sacred, safe space of vulnerability, of healing, and affirmation, giving you space to know that loving yourself and being in a healthy, loving relationship and partnership is possible.
Yes, this episode we are diving into actually understanding what narcissistic abuse is, its impact on love, and just you. What is the impact that narcissistic abuse has on you? So, prepare your hearts, prepare your mind, get your tea, and let's jump into this episode. All right. So we are going to drop into our bodies for a moment here. We want to create this space and ensure that you are held, ensure that this is a safe and sacred space. So if you are driving, be safe, be careful, keep your eyes open, but just feel
Yes.
into your breath, feel into your body. If you are able to take a moment to be a part of this space, do that for yourself. Give that to yourself because self needs it. Okay. So go ahead and find that comfortable seated posture, one that allows for the soles of the feet to meet the ground if you do not want to sit crisscross applesauce. Sorry, I still say that. And allow the shoulders to be open, keeping that heart space nice and open. One thing that healing will bring us is prying those shoulders away from the heart space to keep our hearts open, first for ourselves and then for those who genuinely and authentically love us. And when you're ready, you can begin to bring your gaze down your nose or completely close your eyes, filling into what feels good for you and your body. And just locate your breath. No need to change it, no need to move it, but just paying attention to where it is, where you feel it, and its quickness, its speed, how slow it is. Unclenching the jaw, relaxing the belly, releasing the tongue from the top of the mouth, noticing where you might be clenching or gripping or where you're holding tension. And we'll move into 3 rounds of clearing breath to help move through those blockages, move through that tension. I keep seeing the heart space, coming back to the heart space. So maybe even bringing one hand to your heart space to reinvite energy into this space, to reinvite love into this space. And take a nice big inhale, moving the breath from the belly to the heart space. And as you exhale, opening up the mouth, sighing it out. Beautiful. One more nice big inhale from the belly to the heart space. And maybe if it's there for you, bringing the breath up past the heart space just a little to bring some clearing. And gently exhale, opening up the mouth, let it sigh. Last one, nice big inhale from the belly through the heart space. We're taking that breath and collecting everything that we don't need from the heart space. Bring it up through the throat. And gently exhale, sighing it out.
Mm.
Beautiful, beautiful. And just noticing any shifts, noticing any releases. And when you're ready, you can slowly blink open your eyes, coming back into the space. And welcome.
Welcome, welcome everybody. So I know I
Yes.
said my name is Rakia Chantel, but for those of you who listen, whether you are following me on social media or you listen to my podcast, the Seasons and Cycles podcast that I have, you know how I get down. You know, to some people I'm Mama Doula, to some people I am intuitive. Keys and pulling cards is what I do. So, to help bring us into this space, I am going to pull a card for us and those of our listeners. And this card will be coming from the African Goddess Rising deck. Okay, this is the
Mm.
deck that really screams feminine energy, to me, and it always makes me feel like I'm being hugged, by the great mothers, whether it's the mothers of our ancestors or the mothers from our maternal lineage. It always happens to give us what we need in that moment. So I'm inviting, before we pull, just inviting God, our benevolent ancestors and spirit guides into this space to deliver us a channeled message as we jump into this episode of Love After Narcissistic Abuse. Spirit, what message do you have for this collective? Please give us one card. Message do you have for this collective? Wow, we have this card for those of you who are watching. This is a card that says soul forgiveness.
Mm.
Soul forgiveness. And I am going to read from the book, but what is coming up for me? And on the bottom of the deck we have liberation. I kind of look at both cards, especially the bottom, because the bottom tells us the energy that we're either coming into or we're stepping out of. And with liberation on the bottom, it does give a sense of freeness. So to anybody who may be listening, I just want you to take this message with an open heart to forgive yourself. Um, because you're human and you have very human feelings. And yes, we are spiritual beings, but we're still having a human experience. And we're all here to learn certain lessons. So within this human journey, and as much as you pour into others, just to make sure that you too are pouring back into yourself and forgiving yourself, from any past mistakes or from those relationships that you may look back on and be like, why did I do that? How did I miss some things? This is really just giving yourself some grace in your journey. So
Mm.
yeah, let's see what the book has to say, and then we'll jump into our episode. Um, so the guidance of this soul forgiveness card actually asks us, and it does have two babies on this card. So this may be pertaining to the mothers as well, who may be dealing with some turbulent relationships in regards to dealing with their like co-parenting or dealing with a relationship that possibly produced children. And those, I call it, maybe for those who may struggle with some mom guilt I'm feeling. But the message for you in this card says, it says, who do you need to forgive? It says, let go and reclaim yourself. Forgiveness is a gift of freedom for you from you. It says you can't rush forgiveness. You have to feel it to heal it. Feel the pain, the hurt, the grief, the rage, and the despair. Take time with your heart. Forgiveness is a higher vibration frequency than the pain you must allow yourself to feel.
Mm.
Unforgiveness colors your world with lack, mistrust, and resentment. You start to see everything through victim colored glasses. But forgiveness does not have to include reconciliation. Start with self forgiveness. Say out loud, I forgive myself with love. And this card also comes with they're called goddess declarations, which I love, which are just like love affirmations. And what it says is, I forgive and free myself.
Mm.
I forgive and free others. When
Mm,
I tell y'all the cards, when I tell you the cards is gonna come through, the cards is gonna come through, okay? Because from the
it
bottom of the
came
deck to say
through.
liberation, it's screaming freedom, you know? And we're women. Our heart tends to hold on to a lot of things, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, if you need a moment just to take a break and just let it settle in as we jump into this episode, then do that. If you've been listening from my podcast, and you know how we do this, we do it raw and we keep it very real over here. But this is also a safe space for everybody to just feel whatever it is that they need to feel
Mm,
as we get into this topic. Um, yeah, yeah, I'm grateful for the message.
same.
So, let's dive into it. This episode, we are diving into narcissistic abuse and love, specifically after narcissistic abuse. So, within this episode, and you guys will be doing a series, but within this, we're not going to focus on the relationship, those narcissistic relationships itself, but this is more of a focus of your healing and your recovery journey and what you can do, learn some information and things like that. So, just to start us off, I do have like a textbook definition, and it says narcissism is a mental health condition that is characterized by an exaggerated sense of self importance, a lack of empathy, and a need for excessive admiration. And people who suffer from this mental health condition are known as people who have what's called a narcissistic personality disorder, or NPD. And I don't know about y'all, but I feel like this goes very undiagnosed sometimes, you know, like
Yes.
'cause we all, and actually I'm pretty sure like we've met some people, we know some people, we've been in relationships with some of these people, and we may not have always had the definition for it, you know. And in the realm of social media, where the term narcissism and narcissistic has just been like, it's just been thrown out there, you know, we really want to give our listeners or anybody who may be watching this on different platforms just some context and some knowledge behind it,
Yeah.
just to help you navigate your way to see if you're connected to somebody like this or in a relationship with somebody like this. And it doesn't have to be romantic, you know, this could
Right.
be a friend, this could be a parent or a caregiver or a sibling, this could be your boss, you know. So yeah, in the
Mm.
realms of narcissistic abuse now, narcissistic abuse is a form of emotional and psychological manipulation that is typically um, perpetrated by individuals who have narcissistic traits or the personality disorder. And at the core of this, the abuse stems from the abuser's need for control,
Say
validation,
it. Say
and
it one more time for the people in the back.
for the people in the back, okay? For the people in the back. At the core, okay?
Yeah.
Because now we're talking about what narcissistic abuse is. At the core of it, it stems from the abuser's need for control, validation, and dominance, and it's often at the expense of their partner's well-being.
Flashbacks.
Because it can really go there, you know? And I know even hearing that can hit some people hard, like, oh, ooh, you know.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
yes, it is a mental health condition that I feel like, especially within like the Black community, BIPOC community, that often goes undiagnosed simply because there isn't enough information about it. And I think, like, you know, people who have a need for dominance, they sometimes they know who they are. You know, these
Yeah.
type of people, they can be very intelligent. They be all fly, the sexy ones, the ones that just pull you in. And over the course of a type of romantic relationship with a narcissist, at the beginning it's love and roses. They can make you feel like this, they're the best thing since sliced bread, you know. But there are like certain tactics that they use, there's certain traits, there's certain behaviors and dynamics that you can look for. So some of the things that you can look for in this type of relationship with, like I said, doesn't have to be romantic, but some traits and behaviors of narcissistic abusers is an excessive like self-importance. So for those of
I
you who
have a
don't know, or if you've listened to my last episode on the Season Cycles podcast, where I actually shared my story being in a narcissistic relationship for toxic relationship for almost 8 years. Um, then you know a little bit of my story, but a narcissistic person, they carries this sense of they need admiration. They want to be liked by everybody. And this can they'll use manipulation tactics to essentially like get what they want. And in my case, it was to paint a picture,
mm,
you know, where other people may see them as, oh my God, like, no, they wouldn't do that. Or no, they're not like that. Or it can really mess with the victim's mindset into believing that, you know, they're crazy. And you'll usually hear that from somebody who is in a relationship or a friendship or some type of bond with somebody who's narcissistic. Um, as you'll hear them say like, I feel crazy, or is it me, you know, because a
mhm,
narcissistic person will try to paint the picture to everybody else, but they do have like this sense of entitlement, even entitlement without earning it. You know, there's something different to do great works out in the world, or you know, kind gestures or things that deserve to be praised. But a narcissistic
yeah,
person doesn't do any of those things and still expects that from everybody else around them. You
yeah,
know? Actually,
yeah.
have you seen that?
Yeah, a picture just came to my mind. I'm just like, oh, she hitting the nail on the head. I actually have had an ex say to me or ask me why I don't have a blown up picture of them on my wall. And I was just like, I don't want one.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, I love, you know what I'm saying? Like, and I told him, I said, I love the picture of my crooked heart up there that I painted. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, it was very, oh, let's tear this apart and make it all about me. And it's like, but I worked hard for this. Like, I
Yeah.
actually worked hard for this. I
Yeah.
like saved up my money and, I worked hard for this. And it was like, that didn't matter. Right. So, literally, what you're saying, and it's like, even if they don't work hard for it, they don't care
Mm-hmm.
how hard you worked for it.
Yeah.
They're gonna take it, they're gonna change it, they're gonna get rid of it, they're gonna do whatever needs to be done to make it about them.
Yeah.
And
That's that
yeah,
control
yeah,
piece of
yes,
wanting to control, and that is a trait of somebody who has a narcissistic personality disorder, you know. It's like they want to be your center of attention. It's and when your attention goes to yourself or
hmm,
caring for somebody else, or anything that you can like attach yourself to in a positive way, it almost feels like somebody who has a controlling personality wants to snatch that from you. You know, that way
yeah,
your sole focus becomes on them, which
hmm,
goes into grooming, you know, in a sense, which is also another trait of somebody who has a narcissistic personality disorder. So another thing that you can look for in behaviors, y'all. Think of when you think of somebody who has this personality, there's certain behaviors that you'll be able to see. So a narcissistic person will often have a lack of empathy, and which is an inability or an unwillingness to consider others' feelings or perspectives. It's
yeah,
interesting that I can remember when I was in a toxic relationship and we were at a point, well, I was at a point where I was like, you know, sharing some of my background and my childhood. And this was somebody that I was into. By then we were supposed to be like an item. And they
hmm.
said, oh, you got so many emotional issues. And I was taken up,
Clutching the
excuse me.
pearls.
It was cruel, you know. And at that moment, you know, my internal alarm should have started going off, But what it did was it made me feel small. So
Mm.
I essentially closed up. And that's probably something that my brain should have like, hey, red flag. But it was like, then I started to internalize that because here I am with somebody who they say that they love me. I care about them. We are starting to deepen a relationship together. And as I'm sharing pieces of my past with you, it was, oh no, you got too many emotional issues. Almost like it closed it down, didn't acknowledge it. You got a lot of you, it's too much going on with you. And it almost made me feel as if the things that I did go through were not important.
Oof. Mm.
And that was the moment I stopped sharing,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Mm.
So that lack of empathy from a person who has narcissistic tendencies or traits, they don't care what other people got going on because it's all about me, you know? And if somebody is sharing something, even if it's something of like a graduation,
Yeah.
or something that an accomplishment or an achievement of some sorts. Somebody who lacks empathy won't be able to celebrate you. It'll be very, and it can be very hard for them to celebrate you or to acknowledge you in a high regard for your accomplishment. And to me, I feel like it's because they have a certain level of self-esteem that is not really where they want it to be, but they project those things onto others.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that can be really hard, especially for those of us who may be like highly sensitive or empaths, or even if you don't have like a good support system
Mm.
who can
Yeah.
say, no, like you did a really good job, or I'm proud of you.
Mm-hmm.
You'll rarely hear a controlling person say, I'm proud of you for doing that. That isn't attached to something.
Yeah.
So it can get real tricky, when it comes to identifying somebody who carries these traits. Because sometimes we, as just women in general, we give people the benefit of the doubt.
Too much.
you know, and we
Yeah.
give people the benefit of the doubt. Well, most of us, we
Yeah.
tend to see the best in people, especially people that we're interested in.
Yeah.
And what I can honestly say from being in a toxic relationship for so long is that at the beginning, it was roses, it was flowers, it almost like it was reeling you in. They were sweet, they seemed caring or like a good listener at first,
Mm.
okay? Sometimes these people can be extremely attractive. And then once the physicality gets involved, okay? Because we women.
Crap.
And sometimes you gotta say, maybe I was blinded a little bit, from
Yeah.
from the physicality of the relationship. Um, but they kind of they shower you in affection, and then they start their grooming process over the course of time.
Mm.
So if you are recognizing some of the signs that I've mentioned thus far, I just want you to know it's okay. You're not crazy. You're not dumb. You know, it is okay because they do it in stages. And if you are somebody who has been desiring partnership or love from somebody else, these are some things that you may miss, and it's okay because you're human. And that
Yeah.
lets you know that your heart is still beating.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it can get Ashley, what you think? It can get pretty difficult.
It can get tricky. You said something that I was just like, ooh, right, the support system
Mm-hmm.
piece, right? Because I have a fantastic support system, right? And it took it took it took me some time to realize how great of a support system I have, right? And how much it's grown. But something I noticed too, right? And um I've shared this on my podcast. I've shared my story on the Soul Work podcast, formerly known as Voices of the Body, where this what does their support system look like?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because one thing I had to learn about abuse, especially narcissistic abuse, right? Even understanding narcissism is that
Right.
isolation piece.
Yes.
And understanding that, like, my spiritual practice of isolation is different from this person isolating me, which is also different from me isolating myself from the world, right?
Right.
And all three of those versions of isolation are different, but where's your support system in all
Mm-hmm.
three versions of those, right? So when we're talking about like narcissistic abuse and your person, right? That person using the tactic of stripping you from your support system.
Yes.
Nine times, I don't, okay, so I'm not going to do 9 times out of 10. The question is, who is their support system? What does their
Yeah.
support system look like? Do they have one? Is it solid? What is their relationship like with other people outside of you, right? And that was something that I picked up immediately. Weirdly
Mm.
enough, like I
Mm-hmm.
didn't realize I had picked it up until I had picked it up, and then I would
Right.
try to like have conversation with them about it. And it just it was like one of those things where it was like, well, they need me. They need me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the center of this thing. I'm the person. I'm the, I'm going to keep giving and keep doing all these things, and it's like, but it's not. And this is where, like you said, it gets a little tricky, right? It's like, oh,
Yeah.
I'm the giver, but it's like, it's not the kind of giving that you would think, right? Where it's like, oh, I'm free. I'm like, I just give because that's the type of person I am, right? It's like giving to keep control of something that they
Yes.
don't necessarily like really have control over, because control is an illusion, right?
Right.
So it made me, it like, as the more I started to like hone in on the lack of support system this person had, the more grand I started to see mine.
Mm-hmm.
And then it started to make sense. Of course, coming out of it, because hindsight is always the teacher, right?
Right.
It started to make sense why this person was trying to keep me from my support system. So it
Yeah.
was like I was seeing, certain family members on the regular, and then all of a sudden it's like, I just asked if I can go see so and so, and this person was like later, and later never came.
Mm.
But they would take my car and go leave and go do
Yeah.
whatever they wanted. So
Yeah.
I think that's a piece that light bulbed me as you were talking about it, and that I want us all to like I invite you all to pay attention to, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because if you are having a challenge with understanding a person, one thing I've started doing is looking at who are these people around.
Right.
Who are their friends? What kind of friends do they have? Do they have friends, right? Their like their family dynamic. What is that like? Just who are these who are they claiming to be their support system? And is it authentic? Is it real? What does it look like? Are they, what does that communication look like? That piece. Because jealousy is also
Mm-hmm.
a part
Mm-hmm.
of the
Mm-hmm.
core.
Yeah, so something that struck me when you was talking, and I don't know if any, and I hope whoever's listening or watching, picked up on this as well. You mentioned that you asked to go see so and so or so and so, and that is a having to ask. And
Mhm.
for anybody who's listening, if you have found yourself in that space, um, I want you to just call back your power a little bit, because I can pick up on like some shame, like, because we think we're
Mm.
grown, And it's like when you find yourself like in love with another person, and that it's almost like a power dynamic that happens with somebody
Yeah.
who has narcissistic traits or narcissistic personality disorder, where you do fall, you sometimes you don't even know it's happening, how you can
Yeah.
fall into that powerlessness where now they have a lot of control over your going and your coming, or who you're talking
Mm.
to. So let's just
Mhm.
say, like, for example, you have a good girlfriend, and this could be a very outspoken good girlfriend who's like, girl, that's not it. And the person, whoever you're with, may start to downplay your friendship, or they may even start to tell you this person is jealous of you, or she don't da 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 da, just to get you, just to separate you. And that isolation, that being in that type of relationship can sometimes be crippling to a
Yeah.
lot of people. And as somebody who has been in that type of relationship as well, I experienced that as well. And I can honestly say, like, it is truly a dynamic of what a narcissistic abusive relationship looks like. Or even if it's just, maybe they may not be narcissistic, but emotionally abusive, you know.
Mhm.
Because I
You
also
cry
had a
too
great support
much.
system. Right,
Yeah.
or you cry too much, or you too emotional. And
Yeah.
it's like, I'm a woman. Duh. Like,
You
I'm
want me to
supposed
be
to
hard,
be
and like I could be a
emotional.
thug if you want me to, but I want to be soft. God
Right.
damn it.
They
Can I be soft?
absolutely. And I had a solid support. I had a solid support system. However, I didn't how do I put this? I don't say I didn't rely on, they didn't know.
Mhm.
They didn't know, especially once I
Yeah.
started to pick up on certain things within my relationship. And I can honestly say a lot of shame came into that, because you
Yeah.
got this strong personality, and it's like, not you. And it was like, it's almost like I wanted to hide myself in the relationship, especially because I wasn't at a point where I was ready to leave.
Mm.
So I found myself not going to family events, missing the birth, and me as a doula, like me missing the birth, that just does not,
Yeah.
in my world, at when I was in my world as a birth worker, just getting into doula at that time. I had family members who were getting births and babies' first birthdays, and I wasn't present. And oh, I got a headache, or I'm not feeling good, or some other excuse, just to not make this other person feel some type of way.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I can remember going to a cousin's house, and usually, you with your family, you can be over there all day, y'all chit chatting, just vibing. And I was accused of like stepping out of the relationship because I was with my family all day. And it's like, oh, you wasn't doing that. You was with somebody else. And it really does start to mess with your mind, even though you wasn't doing anything. Well, like, damn, maybe I should have checked in, or maybe I should have like called them so they could see where I was at. Those type of things that cross your mind when you're in these type of relationships. It's just something to really, it's something to really look out for. Because not only do narcissists or controlling people have a lack of empathy, but they also use like manipulation,
Mhm.
gaslighting. In the beginning, they can love bomb you with all these compliments, to get you to lower your guards at
Yeah.
first. Where you, yes, it's like those walls we put up as women to protect ourselves. Some people have the ability to break those walls down just for the purpose of manipulation, you know. And then they can go through what's called like a de-evaluation and discarding, where it can shift from, oh, you're beautiful, to now they start trying to belittle you and picking things up about you apart, which essentially attacks your self-esteem and your sense of worth.
Yeah. Yeah.
And those can be very hard, like, to identify in those type of relationships, so if
Yeah.
anybody's listening to this, really want people not only give yourself grace, but not to be so hard on yourself. um yeah, and so just remember that you're worthy, whether you're still in this type of relationship and trying to navigate your way out of it, whether you have just come out of that type of relationship, or even if you're navigating this type of space with like a parent or a caregiver
Mm-hmm.
or a
Mm-hmm.
boss or a friend, where they've gone from praising you to now it's like, oh, you're not good at anything, or what
Yeah.
good are you, or you're worthless, I just hope and pray that you guys don't believe, it's like, don't believe the nonsense,
Yeah.
and if somebody is saying things to you that makes you want to doubt yourself, that you're able to take a step back and really sit with self just to see if this relationship is healthy for you, and to start that evaluation process. Because leaving somebody that you essentially loved, it can take a little bit. It is not something that happens overnight. So even if you are still in this space, just to remind yourself that it's a process, and allow the process to process.
Yeah. Key, what I tell you when we were chatting, I was like, boy, if only he would get right.
Yes.
If only, right? And that's the love speaking, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that's the love. Like we can't help who we love. And
Yeah.
as much as that saying like irks me, it's true. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like we have to remember there's versions of us that attract versions of other people, that attract other people, whether they evolve or they stay the same, whether we evolve or whether we stay the same. So don't doubt your love.
Yeah.
Don't close off your heart, right? Come back to that heart space because of love, right?
Yeah.
Love is action. So I would say, and this is like a beautiful segue into just understanding like the emotional and psychological
Mm-hmm.
toll that narcissistic abuse takes on you, right? How can you, so here's my question to you, right? If you're in it or like trying to like come out of it, right? Be safe in doing that, because we know when it's time, when we make the decision to leave, it can become even more, it can become unsafe because it's like
Yeah.
exposed, right? You've exposed. I did a series on my podcast um where I intentionally broke down the power and control wheel. And if you haven't, if you're not familiar with the power of control wheel, hi, my name is Love Ashleie Elaine. I'm here to expose the enemy and all of its tricks.
Yes.
But I literally broke down the power and control wheel, which is the wheel of um telling you in every area, right? If your life is a pie, all right. Pick your favorite pie, apple pie, peach pie, whatever it is. Take that wheel and break it, like cut it down the middle, cut it sideways, and cut it like you would cut a pie. That power and control wheel tells you what abuse looks like
Mm-hmm.
financially,
Mm-hmm.
emotionally, psychologically, relationally. Um, if you have kids, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's a whole nother dance. But it
Yes.
it I intentionally broke down on purpose to one, selfishly help gain my own power back,
Mm-hmm.
right? And two, bring whoever with me needed to regain their power back. One thing when it comes to, so come back to that heart space, right? And
Mm-hmm.
ask yourself, if you're coming out of it, if you're in it, if you're wherever you are in this stage, how can I give myself the love now that I gave this person that was
Mm-hmm.
mishandled, right? Because one thing about love, you never run out of it.
No.
You never run out of it. No matter how much this is paining you, how much, like what Key and I are saying, if it's starting to resonate and you got the goosebumps and now you're just like, OMG, I did not know. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you still have love in you. You still have love in you. Whether you leave this person tomorrow, whether you leave them 10 years from now, whether you've already left and you just trying to figure out how to physically leave, You still have enough love in you. It's just now time for you to flip where that cup is pouring in, right? So when we talk about the emotional and psychological toll that these types of relationships take on you, I always say that anything that leaves you confused is
Mm-hmm.
not it,
Yeah.
right? Now I'm bringing my roots now, y'all. I like I grew up on the Bible. It's still something I stand on, and the enemy is confusion, right? The
Mm-hmm.
inner me, the outside enemy, any energy, right? Anything that is bringing you constant confusion and confliction internally is not it.
Mm-hmm.
Is not it. So the mental games, my God. Key, I know like
Mm-hmm.
I know you remember those mental games.
I do. I do. So, with my experience, one of the psychological effects that I still process to this day is like I have PTSD.
Hmm.
And it is in regards to relationships, and not just with relationships with men, but relationships with women, relationships with men and women, and like just relationships as a whole. Because what that type of relationship did was it attacked my ability to believe in myself, and my it feels like it felt like it attacked my abilities to be a good judge of character. And
Mm,
for a long time, I went through this bout of like blaming myself for missing like red flags. And it's something that I had to process through. And for those of you who follow me on social media, you know I am recently married. Okay, I am recently married. I've been married for 3 months to my husband, who is just so wonderful, so patient. And if you guys knew the amount of work that I had to do within that relationship just to regain my confidence, because long term, being in a toxic relationship or any toxic connection has the ability to affect how you see you, how you
yeah.
move about into this world, your own assertiveness, and the way, sometimes even the way that you care for yourself. And
Mm,
sometimes, I don't call myself a victim. Okay, I've always considered myself a victor. I've always considered myself victorious. Um
same.
because considering myself a victim means that I, to me, feel like I was still operating within that space of powerlessness. So, but what that chronic self-doubt would do was it would often make me like question my perception, which came down to my decisions. And over the course of time, it can also chemically like alter your brain patterns and your brain
Yeah.
waves, you know, from manipulation or criticism. It also attacked my self-esteem, the way I felt about my body,
Hmm.
from being told like, oh yeah, you're beautiful, and in another breath being told like, oh, your body's only going to be good for sex, or nobody's gonna want you, because you're good at this, but they're only gonna want you for that. And not internalizing that, you know
Yeah.
so the emotional and the psychological effects, especially if you've been in that type of connection over the course of time, um it I don't want to say the word damage, but if you allow it to, if you give it
Yeah.
power and allow it to brew within, your system and within your being, it has the ability to really put you and keep you in a state of powerlessness, and for some
Yeah.
it can put you in a state of depression.
Yeah. I was diagnosed with situational depression,
Mm,
um, and PTSD, which reminds me that I do have the power.
mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? To choose who I want to be around, how I want to interact, what boundaries I need to set, not want to set,
Yeah.
but need to set, right? Um, and so just giving textbook definition of what those psychological and emotional long-term effects are, like he said, it leads to anxiety, depression, and PTSD.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a battle. I'm not even gonna hold you, right? It's a battle. I too still have my struggles with it and have to be that much more intentional with my daily practice, right? With what am I allowing myself to hear,
Right.
right? When it's just me, right? So maybe I'm not having a phone conversation with certain people today because and then this is where live example, right? This is where the self-esteem and self-doubt and the, you know what I'm saying, like
Mm-hmm.
confusion starts to come in, and it's like, but those are my safe people. And it's like, yes, and today maybe you just need to hear silence.
Yeah.
Maybe you just need to hear your own inner thoughts, right? Maybe you just need to hear God. Maybe you
Mm-hmm.
don't need to hear everybody else's voice today, right? Maybe you just need to be with self, right? So it's that long-term emotional part. It hurts to sometimes, to the degree of, today it's like I'm in my joy, and then tomorrow I'm questioning, I'm doubting, I'm 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 wondering, like it's almost like gaslighting myself,
Yeah.
right? Gaslighting myself into, oh, it's me. Like it was
Yeah.
me, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like a yes and thing, right? It's like, yes and, right? It's me because I keep giving my power away.
Mm-hmm.
It's not me as in like I'm making it up in my head. I'm creating a story that's not true. I'm creating a narrative that's not true. And it's like, no, that actually happened to me. No, yes, you're actively doing this, right? Yes, like you did say that. Like, why? I'm just gonna make it up in my head that you told me I was fat. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
that's not.
Right.
Why would I say that to myself? And know that you have power.
Yes.
You have power over what you allow into your thinking space, what you allow into your heart space, what you allow into your soul, your will. Because the goal of narcissistic abuse is to break you down mentally, break you down emotionally, break
Mm-hmm.
you down spiritually, so that you become fully dependent and powerless to this other individual, right? You can you can and will come back home
You
to
will.
self, right? You can and will come back home to self. The thing that I think is most important, that I want all of you to understand and remember and dance with, because it's going to be a dance, right? You get to choose what kind of dance you want it to be. It could be the little Kim where you sitting here dodging everything, right? Or you like, let's lean with it, rock with it. I'm gonna dance with whatever is coming up, and I'm gonna lead the dance steps, right?
Right.
Um the way anything changes is how you see it. And how you see it is going to be how you think about it. What is living rent free in your mind right now that should be paying taxes?
Mm-hmm.
Right? What did that person say to you that you keep heart, like that you keep on like a constant recorder in your head, right? Like this is what that psychological abuse is, right? It's
Yeah.
like, plant the seed, and now it's buried in there, to where now you won't leave the house because you think you're too fat, or you used to
Yeah.
love the color orange, and you had on that orange dress, and this person said, "Oh, that color is horrible.
Mm-hmm.
That color is horrible on you."
Mm-hmm.
And now you just wearing black all the time,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, be gracious again, right? Like, we're like, I'm glad you said it in the beginning, Key, and well, I'll keep reiterating it too. Be gracious with yourself, because it's a dance, right? the thing about it is, and this is something that I've done with kids that I've worked with, like teenagers that I've worked with, and adults that I've worked with. It's called metacognition, right?
Mm.
It's replacing a thought with a thought.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So take your power back course, like crash course number one. Pay attention to what thought comes in, whose voice it is, and then like replace it as quick as you can with your voice, or God's voice. Whoever's voice is
Mm-hmm.
lovely, whoever's voice is true, whoever's voice makes all of a sudden everything in you come into alignment, right? Replace that thought as quickly as you can with the thought. But what are you replacing that thought with?
Right.
Right? So if all of a sudden out of nowhere you hear, "Oh, that orange is ugly. Go take that off." While you getting dressed, like say you like you're out of the situation, you about to go out with your girls, they're like, "Girl, get dressed, like we going out," and you're just like, "You know what? I'm finna get back to myself."
Mm-hmm.
And you pull out that orange dress and you just stare at it, and boom, that thought comes, that voice comes. And now the thought of, "Oh, I can't wear this. This is ugly." Replace it quickly. I'm gonna look like a baddie in this.
Okay.
I ain't trying to pull nobody, but I'm gonna look bad in this.
Okay.
Like,
You can even throw an affirmation in there. You know, the
hello,
color orange
somebody.
specifically, when it comes to the chakras, is representative of the sacral space. And for a lot of women, that not for a lot, for those of us who hold wounds, that is our center for creativity. That's where we experience joy, pleasure, you know, and we are really able to and essentially give birth. So think of your womb space, you
Yeah.
know. So using that example in that color orange and the way that we can reframe, you know, our thoughts and replacing, like you said, that inner voice, like throw yourself an affirmation, like, oh, and when it comes to the recovery process from being in a
Mhm.
toxic relationship, you know, and having to rewire your brain, um it really it takes a lot of self-compassion, you
Yeah.
know,
A lot.
and rewiring your brain and replacing a negative thought with a positive thought, it is going to take practice. So it
Yes.
is, especially if you've been in a long-term relationship and you realize that, you know, some of your thoughts may not even be your own. And just to get a little bit deeper, what I've noticed in common is that people who have controlling personalities or narcissistic personalities, they often have some form of childhood trauma. So, what
Woo.
this type of relationship does, especially if you have your own childhood trauma that may not have
Yeah.
been addressed. And I personally believe, and I've seen this in the clients that I've worked with, where those things that we, those childhood wounds that we have, if we aren't able to unearth them and to nourish them and to really clean them out and get to the root of them, they manifest in our adult relationships, you
Mhm.
know. So what we may have
Mhm.
wanted from our mothers or our dads, we may look for that in potential spouses and start to build that unhealthy connection, you know. So when you try to reframe those thought patterns, you know, and you know, like Ashley said, replacing it with a positive one and starting to affirm yourself and essentially like bigging yourself up, hyping yourself up, because you have to restructure now and like chemically alter your brain patterns. And when you think
Yeah.
about a narcissistic abuse, I want you guys to know that this is trauma. And for women, trauma gets stored in our bodies. You
Yeah.
know, we store trauma, we store our wounds, our emotional pain. We store these things, they get stored in our bodies. And being a spiritualist, when those emotions become trapped in our body, they manifest physically as a dis-ease within our system, you know.
Mhm.
So this is just letting you guys know that it's all connected, you know, the power of your
Yeah.
mind. Because I have an example about that, where I was in that type of relationship and they didn't want me to wear hoops. I don't know what it was about hoop earrings, but hoops to me is a black girl. It's a black girl symbol, okay? Like it
Mm-hmm.
screams power. It screams I'm here, and letting your presence be felt in the room. And I didn't even realize how over time I stopped doing things that I liked doing or dressing the way that
Mm-hmm.
I used to like dressing because I was trying to essentially please someone else, which is also a psychological effect that you become a people pleaser, which may
Yeah.
have started even before you got in that relationship. But what that relationship did was is it highlighted what was already going on with you, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um and as a way to take my power back, once I was able to release myself from that relationship, was I went back to doing the things that made me happy, like wearing hoops. So if you see me out in the streets, most of the time I'm gonna have on a hoop earring because it's me teaching my brain this is Rakia. This is what we want to see. I love a good stud too, or a little, decorative something, something, depending on what the outfit is. But it's
Mm-hmm.
a way to remind myself. So even if for rewiring your thoughts. And if you can see Ashley's background, those post-it notes that she has back there, because your brain is going to need reminders that,
Yeah.
hey, you're not in that space anymore, or even if you are navigating still in this space and you may not have fully separated yourself yet, or you're still debating if there's something that you want to separate from, there's certain things that you can start to do just to get back to yourself, or even to go through a process of self discovery and rediscovering yourself and what you like. But I think that is so important to start with reframing, our thoughts, especially for like the moms, who
Yeah.
moms deal with so much. And I think that is just like so important.
Yeah. Especially when like motherhood starts to get attacked,
Mm-hmm.
right? When, I mean, the minute someone says you're a horrible mother, fighting words. You know what I'm saying? Like it's
Right.
right. It's one of those because as women, right? And not every woman desires to be a mother, and that's lovely, right? And there's like, I'm sorry, I had a baby in my body.
Gave life, carried life.
And still got the stretch marks to 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 prove the portal
Yes.
worked, right? And it's like the just the audacity
Yeah.
of using that to be the attack, right? It is intentional.
Yes.
It is intentional, right? So be gentle with yourself, be kind with yourself, right? When you begin to uh work that rewiring in the mind, it flows down through the rest of the body, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
literally like a waterfall, right? You start with the head and everything comes down to the emotion, to the soul, to the body, right? You'll start to notice, if you recall from the breath work, right? Where I was calling out, notice where you might be tense, where you might be clenching, right? Um, it builds awareness, right? So over time, 222, over time, you'll start to notice when that thought comes back. Maybe now you're less reactive to it, right? Maybe now you notice, ooh, I clench my jaw every time like every time that thought comes, right? And now
Mm-hmm.
you can, I don't want to say investigate, because me, I'm a Gemini all over my chart, so I'm always investigate, like I'm my own research project.
Your own case
Right?
study.
Yeah, I'm my own case study. But you allow yourself to open yourself up to the present of what is happening in your body, right?
Absolutely.
And um I wouldn't be me if I didn't bring it to that point, right? Because then as we move into what that looks like for your self-esteem, what that looks like for trusting people, right? Or
Mm-hmm.
trusting again, right?
Yeah.
Trusting yourself, right? I
Yeah.
did
Absolutely.
on my YouTube, I did a video on trusting your intuition again after abuse. Hard,
Very.
right? Very hard, because you're already like blaming yourself for being in what you just got out of, or even being in, if you're still in
Yeah.
it wherever you are, like you're all like you've already fell on the sword for it, right? So it's like, how can I trust myself when I allowed this to happen? And it's like, but you didn't allow it, right? So that's where the grace needs to come in. um I definitely always recommend therapy, like therapy guru over here. Like, have that neutral person to
Yeah.
be able to dive into, okay, well, why do you self-blame, right? Why are you taking the blame for someone else's behavior, or the way someone else has, shown up, or the words that someone else used, right? um because everything is not always black and white.
No.
Everything is not always assigned to the responsibility of a person and the accountability of a person, right? There's so much baggage, like you mentioned before, Key, that we all have our stuff, whether you had an amazing childhood, whether you had a
Hmm.
horrible childhood, we all have our stuff. And part of that reframing is that I had to do was, okay, what did this person teach me
Yeah.
about me, right? And we're not all going to be there, right? I mean, go through your grief stages of releasing that version of you, go through your grief stages of releasing that relationship, go through your grief stages of releasing that person, right? Give that to yourself. Don't hold that from yourself, because you'll find the revitalization of your self-esteem in that. You'll
Yeah.
find the revitalization of trust in that, right? You'll find the revitalization of love in that, right? When I first shared like the heavy, like the initial of my story, I had a grief counselor come on to the podcast, and because in the Black community, the BIPOC community, we don't talk about grief.
We don't. I also have a colleague who was a grief counselor, and I tell her all the time, your services are needed. I don't know what it is about us brown folks and why we don't want to talk about our pain.
Mm-mm. Like, we'll go to the funeral,
Yes,
but we won't talk about how now 7 weeks later I'm in my kitchen crying and can't tell nobody,
absolutely. And in
or
my line of
stuffing it
work,
all. Mm-hmm.
exactly. In my line of work, and even the process that I'm going through with myself and my own grief, realizing that grief isn't always it grief looks different to everybody, and it doesn't always involve losing a loved one. Sometimes you can be grieving an old version of yourself,
Yeah.
or an idea that you didn't that you may have procrastinated on, or you can grieve in terms of the narcissistic abusive relationship. Sometimes you and not sometimes you have to grieve the idea that you had in your head for how you wanted this relationship to go, because I realize often is when it comes to women, that's what that some of us may have stayed too long. And if you are still in this type of relationship, and if it is something that you desire, um yeah, yeah. For those who know me, I'm gonna keep it raw. But people who display these type of traits and these type of narcissistic traits and controlling traits, what I have learned is that unless these people decide to get therapy or some type of professional mental health help or support, they will not change. This is embedded into them. It is considered a mental health condition that requires support. And even if you do the research and look at the statistics, they normally don't change. They can get better once they understand themselves and their development, but they need professional support. And if you're with
Mhm.
somebody who is unwilling to get the support, or who has this idea of nothing is wrong with me, that's essentially a red flag and an alarm to you that, okay, the idea of how I wanted this to go. Maybe you're somebody who has children and you wanted to, like, I don't want to do that to my children, or I wanted to give, my kids a two-parent household. Embracing the reality can also bring on the grief process, because now you're grieving something that you initially wanted so bad, and you're recognizing that the reality of it is that this is just not going to work. And for those of
Yeah,
you who are mothers, your children, yes, I believe children need both parents. I also do believe that children need healthy parents.
that part.
So allow yourself to have those grieving moments, and to not only the grief, but the acceptance. Because you have to accept that this is not going to get better. And you can talk about it. Give them professional sources and things like that. I'm a coach, Ashley's a coach as well, if you need some support going through it. But if your partner isn't willing to change, or the person isn't willing to change, or even acknowledge that there is a problem, that is
Yeah,
often the cue to say, hey, this is expiring.
yeah,
And to accept that. And there's gonna be some grief. Black and brown women, we don't talk about our pain enough, because some, you may not even have noticed that some of your mothers may have dealt with situations like this that they didn't
hmm,
speak about, so you had no knowledge or no awareness of it.
yeah,
And shoving these things down, or internalizing the shame, or like how you're going to be perceived towards others, it has the ability to erode your sense of self. So
yeah,
allow yourself to go through those grieving process, and just know that um brighter days are possible. Healing is possible. Being in a healthy relationship is possible, even if you're not there yet. And
yeah.
we're gonna get into that, y'all. Y'all gonna see. Okay, I got a whole spiel, but I got a whole spiel for that. But just give yourself the opportunity to accept the reality, of the situation, and talk about it. Like, find some support. Even if you're not ready to leave the situation yet, find somebody who can help support you as you navigate your way through these tough waters.
Yeah, and grace. Give
Yes.
yourself grace. Give yourself grace in trusting yourself. Start there, right? I always say start with the little things, right? Um like sitting with yourself and just saying, "Okay, what do I want to eat for lunch today?" You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Like start there. Start with trusting yourself with your intuition about like going to the mall or going to the mailbox. Like it doesn't have to be this, I'm going to trust myself to get into another relationship. Pause.
Right.
Like start very small. Maybe it's, it's Saturday and you had a laundry list of things to do. You want to go run around and something is like you're just feeling, right? Even if you're not feeling that intuitive prompting,
Hmm.
something is like you're feeling something say, you know what, I just need to stay home today, or I just
Yeah.
want to stay home today. Trust that, lean into that, right? It doesn't have to be a huge thing, and allow that to also be a space where you ask yourself, where have I trusted myself before?
Yeah.
Right? Because what also happens in narcissistic abusive relationships, they make you forget that you was ever the one.
The one
They
and not
make
the
you,
two, okay?
and not the two. They
Not the
make you
two.
they make you forget that you have been on your P's and Q's, that you have created the things and done the things and been to the places, and you like they make you, and I don't know what, like they in the wrong field. That's all I gotta say. Like they playing in the wrong, they're in the wrong industry. But they like it will make you forget. That's that
Yeah.
psychological
Yeah.
toll, right? It
Yeah.
makes you forget that you once had joy, that
Yeah.
you once experienced certain things. Like, I mean, there was moments where like you had mentioned before, just doing things for yourself.
Yeah.
I almost forgot that I enjoyed the movies.
Wow.
Like, I mean, when AMC was popping before COVID,
Mm-hmm.
I had the go see a movie 3 times a week type deal. And I'm like, cool.
Mm-hmm.
I'm dropping my
Your
son off to
self
school and
dates,
going to
yes.
the movies,
Dating
going to get me a
yourself,
little meal, sneaking it into the movies.
yes.
Right? Been doing that since middle school. Right? So it like, and then all of a sudden, like, I promise you, sis, I promise you, one day, just one random day, everything that you have accomplished, that you've done, like who you've evolved away from, is going to hit you like a ton of bricks.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to be the day where you're not even looking for self-esteem to be on the agenda for the day. And all of a sudden, you're just going to be reminded, I forgot that I've actually done X, Y, and Z, that
Mm-hmm.
I can do X, Y, and Z, that I put my kids through X, Y, and Z, that I did. It's it will hit you, and you will be like, it's gonna be that light bulb moment
Yeah.
that people talk about, right?
Yeah.
It's gonna hit you, and be present with that moment. Be present with that moment. Celebrate that moment. Let that be the moment that, I don't want to call it an arrival, right? Because we never arrive anywhere. We stay present to the journey, right? But it's going to be the moment where what you thought was lost,
Yeah.
who this person told you you were, is no longer existent.
Yeah. I call that, in the spiritual realm, we call that the rebirth.
Yes.
This is the rebirth of yourself. And I feel like we as women, we go through this rebirthing process over and over and over again, because we're ever evolving. For those of us who desire to evolve, and even for people, even for those women who desire to stay the same, there is a process of rebirthing yourself. And in that process, there is a shedding process. So when that light bulb comes on, sometimes you're right, it does hit hard sometimes. You may be outside doing cartwheels, or it could look like you just having this moment of emotional release where you are just crying.
Yeah.
You just, it's now everything is coming out of you, and it's once you get up from that release, no matter how that may look, once you get up from that and it hits you like, oh no, and you wipe your face. Um, what I've helped my clients do as well, and we'll get more into this as we go through this series. And I can explain more on this, but it's mirror work.
Mm,
Where
mm,
I started this work with myself because I'm always my first client.
yeah.
Where I stripped myself, and I told my clients do this, and they get a little pushback sometimes, but it's like, I want you to get naked, and I have them do that in their own time with the full length mirror so that they can truly see themselves. And it's almost like a stripping process that happens,
Yeah.
and I've realized that the clients who actually go through the exercise and allow whatever needs to come up as they look at themselves, that next session, and it's like, oh no, I forgot I was a baddie. Like, oh, I forgot I had this cute little dimple over here, or I may have some scars, you know.
Yeah.
I may have some scars that were hard to look at, but my scars are a tapestry of the wins that I have and the things that I have
Mm,
overcome.
mhm.
So, sis, remind yourself, like, you've remind yourself that you can do hard things.
Yes.
And
Yes,
I want
yes,
people to
yes.
really be able to take that away from this episode. You can do hard things,
Yeah.
because you're capable. And just know that whether you've coming out of this type of relationship, whether you're still in it or navigating this space, with this type of person or somebody who displays these characteristics, that healing is possible, but it is a
Mhm.
process, and you have to let the process. The road to self-discovery um is a beautiful one that unveils truly who you are at your core level. So allow yourself and give yourself permission, to to relearn yourself all over again.
Yeah, yeah. And it's a beautiful space to be in, to relearn yourself all over again. Don't
Yeah.
let people tell you different. Because people
Yeah.
tell you, "Ooh, you starting over." No.
Or you changing,
The
you not the same no more. And it's like, duh, you're not supposed to. You're not
No,
supposed to stay the
right.
same.
Right. It is the most powerful place to be in is somewhere you were not a year ago.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Um so we're going to segue into a little game called Red Flags, Green Flags.
Red flag, green flag, 1, 2, 3.
Right. Remember red light, green light.
That's right. Childhood games.
So, we are going to just kind of ping pong on some red flags, right? To just kind of tip your hat to, just kind of pull that hair behind your ear and listen to, right? And some green flags. Green flags are
Yes.
the things you want to see, right? The things that you want to be able to fall into with trust and ease, and really be all in your feminine juice. Okay?
Absolutely.
Yes. So let you start it off, Miss Keys.
Sure. So a red flag, okay? Love bombing. And for some people who
Mm,
may not know what that is, okay? So love bombing is an overwhelming affection and attention that happens early on. So let's say you meet somebody, you digging them a little bit, you guys go out on a date, it's real cute, and you notice that like within a couple of days, they start showering with you with gifts, lavish trips, um affection and attention, or like it's an overwhelming sense of like compliments,
mm,
which can get a little tricky because for women who are still learning to receive, and allowing themselves to and take that compliment. But if it does not feel safe, girl, if it does not feel sincere, red flag.
red flag. Red
Red
flag.
flag. And don't doubt it.
But what about the sisters that's like, but I mean, I should be complimented.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So that was me. And it's like, yes, shower me with love and affection. Like, tell me I'm
Now.
cute. Tell me I'm pretty. Love bomb me,
Right.
What I will say is if you find that these compliments are attached to something,
Mhm.
or let's say, or if you notice that these compliments, if they come with some type of underhand tone to it, or you would be cute, you would be prettier if you did this.
Mm.
If it's attached in, or a but, or a comma, or you picking up on some underlining tone that they're only giving you this compliment because they're gonna want something in return later, I would say that's something to look out for.
Yeah, yeah, so good. So a green flag in this situation would be process, right?
Yes.
Allowing and noticing over time, right?
Mm-hmm.
What are these compliments looking like? When are they showing up in conversation? How
Mm-hmm.
early into dating or meeting this person are they showering you with these compliments, right? I think when you can identify it as a green flag, you've already hyped yourself up enough.
Right.
So you're beyond the surface of, I need you to tell me I'm great. I need you to tell me I'm cute. I need you
That
to tell me I'm
validation.
beautiful. Right. You're beyond needing the validation, and you're now in a space of emotional wealth,
Yes.
right? Not looking for someone else to feel that, but looking for someone who sees it, recognizes it, and compliments it, right? So process, right?
Mm-hmm.
Allowing, is this person being gradual with getting to know you, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Do they ask
paying attention.
questions?
Right. Do they ask questions? What kind of questions do they ask?
Mm-hmm.
Is it like real conversation, and let's go back one-on-one. What conversation is, it's am I listening
Mm-hmm.
and responding, not just listening to respond, right?
Absolutely.
Are they only talking about themselves? Are they only asking questions about you, right? Those are things to
Mm-hmm.
pay attention to. So really allowing for genuine connection to take place. You remember that debate about like first dates and like going to get coffee and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Take me to go get coffee, but I'm not taking you to my favorite
Mm-hmm.
coffee shop.
Yes, those are things to, yes, to pay attention to. And for anybody who, even if you just listening to the episode and maybe you haven't dealt this type of relationship, pay attention to where they want to take you in the beginning.
Don't take me to
Houses,
Ruth Chris on the
red
first date.
flag.
That
Okay,
too.
they want to bring you home. They want to come to your house. Okay, now
Mm-mm.
for some of us, for some people who may be in a wild feminine era, I would say do what you got, do whatever it is that you want to do, and make sure you are safe. Do you
Right.
feel safe with this person to even allow to even be in their home, or to allow them to come into yours? And when it comes to those compliments, pay attention on what type of compliment are they giving you, and like, is it only in reference to your body or what you're
Mm-hmm.
wearing? Is it, do they ever compliment you about things that have nothing to do with physical appearance? Maybe it could be the way that you think or the way that you process things, or
Yeah.
if you own a business or your career or something professional, like,
Red flag, red flag.
red flag.
Another green flag. Um,
Oh, I have one. Respects boundaries.
yes.
Okay, they honor your autonomy, they honor your space. So if you don't feel like talking today, or you don't feel like seeing them today, they're not emotionally offended. They can
Yeah.
respect the fact that you need, give me just 5 steps back. Okay, 6 feet, give me six, give
Mm,
me 6 feet. And
right.
this person won't try to devalue you in a sense, or play on your emotions when you draw a boundary. If this person
Yeah.
crosses a boundary that you've drawn, that is a red flag. Okay,
Yeah.
and
There.
boundaries have different degrees.
Yeah. Yeah.
So only you know what type of, how the level of severity that they would be crossing, and that's for every woman to use at their own discretion.
Definitely. And even going back to building trust again, you build trust again when you start owning, well, what are my boundaries, what are my non-negotiables, right?
Mm-hmm.
So a red flag is this person's non-negotiable, or your non-negotiables not being met by this person, and them not
Mm-hmm.
taking that into consideration, right? I'll even bid you one further. They know what your what your non-negotiables are, and they still stick around,
Mm.
right? There's no reason for somebody to still stick around if they know what your boundary is, if they know, right? If you've said no, if
Right.
you've said this is what I don't want in a relationship, and they're saying, well, I do want this, but they're still trying to connect with you.
They're trying to change your mind.
Right. Pay attention to that, right? That comes
Yeah.
back to rewiring your psychological, your thinking, right? Like you mentioned earlier, Key, that people pleasing, right? You
Yeah.
can't people please your way into a relationship, right? So a green flag, even if you and this person never see each other again, the respect was there for them to say, you know what? I respect that if you, whatever reason your non-negotiable is,
Hmm.
I respect that, but this is what I want. I bid you farewell, and we keep it moving. There's
Absolutely.
such thing as agreeing and not ever being a part of each other's lives.
Absolutely.
We don't talk about that.
Yeah, because everybody you meet, everybody you meet in that of the same spec, won't always be a romantic interest.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
being able to stick to your non-negotiables and not being willing to change them, for the sake of somebody else. If it's a hard no, then let it be a hard no for you. And that person, they will either respect it, and if they don't, then that's cool too. Because you don't gotta stick around.
Yeah. You ain't got to stick
You
around.
do not have to stick around. I would say another red flag, be mindful of people who are the jealousy and possessiveness.
Ugh.
Oh, you going out with your girls, you want to look fly, you're not really together. And he like, you sure you want to wear that? Or all these other whatevers are gonna be on you and things like that. They'll try to persuade you either to change what you were initially going to do, or stop you from being around certain people that have possibly been in your life, for years. And sometimes jealousy can be disguised as care, or I'm just trying to keep you safe. I don't want nothing to happen to you. I don't want other men to be looking at you and to get the wrong idea. Girl, you grown. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
if he starts saying these things and throwing these things at you, that lets you know that there's some type of possessive nature in there, that can potentially come out as like spousal jealousy. Or even
Yeah.
if you are, um let's say you have a huge accomplishment at work, and this person may not be what they want to be in their life, and they downplay your accomplishments. Oh, well, that's cool. That's all right. And
Mhm.
you like, what? I just got an award. What do you mean that's cool? Like all the hard work I put in. That's something
Right.
to be mindful of.
Yeah. Um, a green flag would be they value individuality,
Yes.
right? Because if they value who they are as a person and them having time and space for themselves, and they have interest, right? But who do they have interest? My God.
Outside of
Outside of
you.
you.
Yes.
Right? If they value that and you can see it, you can sense it. So let's say you guys are out on coffee date number 3, and he says, "Oh, well, I'm going on a solo trip to Mexico," and it's sparking conversation. That's a good sign.
Yeah,
Right?
it is.
Because you want somebody that is not going to be hovering, that is not going to take you away from your interests, take you away from the things that make you feel whole,
Absolutely.
right? That bring you joy, that bring you into your creativity, right? So green flag, can you both still be in relationship with each other, but be in relationship with self also,
Yeah, that space to be
right?
yourself. That
Yeah.
that freedom to say like, yeah, we may be together, but we have interests outside of our relationship. Just like that idea of like mutuality and mutual support. A green flag, they're gonna want to see you grow. They're gonna encourage you to
Mhm.
follow your dreams. So if you have an idea where it's like, I don't know if I really want to do this, they're that extra push to be like, no, you can do it. They're gonna speak life into you versus
Mm.
trying to take life from you,
Yeah.
um or saying anything that'll make you dim yourself or not be as confident. Somebody who really supports you and wants to show up for you or is interested in you, they're going to help you evolve by pushing you to grow. That can be a little uncomfortable as well, but
Yeah.
they want to see what's best for you.
Yeah. So good. So, so good. Um, that's all I got. You got any more?
Yeah. Green flag. Honesty and transparency.
Oh,
Do
girl,
they keep it a
yes.
buck? Is there
Yes.
open dialogue? Are they honest about their dealings or their affairs? Or let's say you guys are, having a conversation about past relationships.
Mhm.
Can this person be forthcoming, with information? Or do you notice that, like, they may have hid some things, or may have some hidden agendas? A person that can be honest and essentially put their cards out on the table, say, look, this is who I am, you
Yeah.
know and somebody, a green flag, do they have boundaries?
Yes.
If they have boundaries, they also have a sense of self, and they
Yeah.
have
Mm.
not non-negotiables as well. Somebody who has boundaries says, I love myself, and I
Yeah.
don't just accept anything.
So good. So, so good. Mm. So
Yeah,
good.
safety has always been a big one for me. Does this person feel safe? And I mean like safe within your body. Do you get nervous? If we talking on energetic terms, can this person, green flag. from an energy perspective. Can this person hold space for me?
And I was gonna say red flag, no empathy.
No, exactly. Can this person, green flag, if this person can hold space for me? Because life happens. You can be meeting somebody, let's say you have a loss in the
Yeah.
family, while you're getting to know this person. Can this person hold space for me just to feel without trying to input their own things into that space? Can they be a listening ear?
Mm-hmm.
A person who lacks empathy is not going to want to hear anything that you got going on,
Mm-mm.
especially if it has to do with emotions or some type of hurt.
Yeah.
This person won't be able to hold safe space
Yeah.
for you, and somebody that is potentially harmful may even try to use some of your hurt or your grief against you you know
Mm. Mm. Whew. Why do people do that? It's
Bless them.
like, are you
Everybody just need a spiritual bath. I'm gonna
like just
throw
get
them
the
in the
water and
ocean.
just dump. Just come on,
Throw
God,
them
just
in the ocean. And
rain.
it's sad to say, but like there's
Noah's
a
Ark
lot
it
of
out here.
people like that who have these type of personalities where they're use things that you told them in confidence against you. And that can also really hurt a person, especially a person who may have some wounds that may not be as healed.
Yeah.
To have some things that you said in confidence thrown back into your face can really it can really hurt your soul. So
Yeah.
the idea
That's
and that level of
painful.
safety, um and if you feel like you are unsafe, then that's my biggest red flag. If you feel like I don't know if I want, I don't know if, you just don't know, there's something in your body that is just so resistant to this person. Yeah, we're gonna explore all of that because my brain is like
Yeah.
even when it comes to being physical.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
And if your
Mm.
body is not willing, because we're women, we're receivers. So even if you think about, like, our feminine parts, even the vagina, the womb, it's a receiving organ. So even if you notice that your body tenses up, when you're about to
Or dries
engage,
up.
in a sexual act,
Mm-hmm.
or you can red flag. It is a red flag because that's your body communicating with you. This is not safe for us. And
Yeah.
sometimes as women, we can ignore what our body is saying to us. So these are just a few examples, that we're giving you guys on what you can potentially look for, because there's love. And I want everybody to know that there is love after being in an abusive relationship or a toxic relationship. If you desire
Yeah.
partnership, if you desire marriage, it's out there. Okay. And I know it's
Yeah.
out there because I am living proof. But I was able to receive this type of love from the work that I had to do on myself first.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So if that's something that you desire, it's out there. And if you're still in this relationship and you're realizing that it's not going to change and you do decide to leave, as soon as you come out of it, if I can encourage you to do anything, is to give yourself some time.
Yeah. Give
Give
yourself a
give yourself some
time.
time.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's
And
it's
it
out
and
there. I'm tell all my homegirls. I'm praying to all my homegirls who desire that. Like it's out
listen,
there.
it is. And don't let what has already happened be what you perceive the future to be.
Yeah.
Right? Because I've been in that space where it's like, oh no, I'm not, I'm good off of this. I don't want to be in no relationship anymore. I don't want to do none. Not for me. When deep down inside it's like, no, I know I'm meant to be a wife.
Yeah. Come hold me, love me. You want to be soft. We
Please,
wanna we
like,
wanna we wanna dwell in our feminine energy.
please stop having me out here being thuggish. I don't like it.
I don't want to be a no limit soldier.
I
You
don't.
know?
I quit. I put the sword down and the camouflage. Like, I'm good off of it.
Yes. Yes.
So
But
we want to wrap up. We have so much. You like I almost forgot that we was doing a series,
me
and y'all just got a lot in what was supposed to be an hour, but I love the flow. And cut off the water when it's giving and taking care of the people?
Not sure.
There's so much more in store. I am so excited to one be doing this with you, Keys, and also it's time. Like it's the energies have been it's just
Yes.
time to be out here encouraging women to love again. Yeah, so we want to close out with a beautiful affirmation.
Yes. Closing us out. So the affirmation is, as you sit with the information and the tips and the things, all of the things that we have just dropped. I do want to leave you all with this, that you are not broken. Whether you are coming out of it, still in it, whatever your situation is, you are not broken, and healing and recovery is possible. Let it rest on your heart. This will even be a good journal prompt, um, for those of you who may sit with the things that we've shared, but you're not broken. Healing and recovery is possible. It
Mm.
is. And for those of you who may feel broken, um, just know that even pieces of the puzzle still make a whole picture. They still make a whole picture. So take your time gathering those parts of yourself up.
Mm. You still got breath in your body. God ain't done with you yet.
He ain't through.
He ain't through with you yet. I always like to come back to that Chinese story of the broken, like the broken cup, right? Or broken bowl.
Mm,
When the bowl breaks, any of their fine china breaks, they put it back together but with gold.
mm,
So allow those parts of you that are coming back together, or those parts of you that are being redefined and coming back together, and whatever is coming back home to you, let it be golden.
yeah.
Let it be
Let
golden.
it be golden. I love that.
Yeah, I love all of y'all for free. I love all of
Yes.
y'all for free.
He does too.
Yes.
I love you guys.
Tune,
And
yes.
I thank you
Tune
guys for
in.
listening.
Absolutely. Tune in next week. You can find, let's share our platforms now, because
Yeah. Yes. So yes, if you guys would love to follow me, I'm across all platforms. At Intuitive Keys, that is on Instagram, that is also Facebook, and also on TikTok. Feel free to follow me as well, to stay updated on our next episode. Um, I think the next episode we should really open it up to the people.
yeah, we're gonna and you can find me on Instagram, the Soul Work Podcast, um, YouTube, Soul Work. The podcast is on all podcasting platforms. So you'll be able to find this visual to look at our pretty faces. Look at all this chocolate.
Okay, the melanin is melanin.
It's melanin. And the audio, of course. But yeah, we wanna open it up to all of you. There will be a Zoom link in the show notes where just pop in,
Yeah.
right? Pop in. We'll be recording every Wednesday. We'll put that information in the show notes.
Yes, to be
Yeah.
determined. That's the
Yes.
goal. That is
But
the goal, but to be
we'll put the
determined.
record date and days and times in the show notes with the link, because we want you guys a part of this.
Yeah.
This isn't just for us to come in here and this is what you need to do. Da, 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 da. It's a
Yeah.
community thing.
Yeah.
it's gathering women, coming back to the core of womanhood and healing and community and all of the things that this new era is coming back into and moving into. So we want you all a part of it, and ask us questions. Ask us
Yes,
questions.
this is
We're
a
open
safe
books.
space.
Yeah.
This is also a safe space where even if you just decide to drop in, it's a safe space for you to unravel,
Yeah.
you know, and to be whatever it is that you need to be within that space. So, yes,
Yeah.
come tune in, come join us for our next episode. We love to have you.
Yes. See you next time.